some video of this because one of the things I do find interesting, I was a little worried. I went ahead and hit some areas like down there. Let me see if I can get my flash turned on. There we go. Down in that area, and you can still see a little bit of sort of almost a streaking kind of thing. And I used some up here of the Lifetime. And these are areas where I thought I might have to come back and sand today, but actually, I mean, the wood's gotten dark enough. What this was some sticky residue. I might still do this one because this was just something like where there'd been a sticker on the wood or something like that. And again, and noting I didn't pay them to finish the interior, so this stuff I would expect. I did have one spot I missed up there, it looks like. But I'm slowly developing a method, sort of combine brush and cloth, and I think, you know, you can only, it's hard to get the full feel from this, but I think in the bathroom it's looking really nice. You can see a little bit, you can barely actually see the difference on these boards up here, but right there, those two in the middle of the screen are right where I stopped last night. Because it started getting kind of dark. And you have that wall on the right versus the wall on the left that was treated, untreated. Untreated is on the right. You know, so hadn't touched any of that back there. Gonna try and get that done tonight before I leave. I stopped out here because I wanted to get the bathroom done, since I need to hit some areas with my Minwax marine stuff. Plus, that's what I forgot. I need to grab. Well, I gotta run back home here soon, anyways, because it's stuff with laundry. I want to pull those screws out a little bit here, but I don't have my star bit with me. Pull these out a little bit, sink these deeper, so I can do. Actually, you know, I talked about the poplar on a previous video. So I did a video where I showed how I did that for this, right? With the plugs. Down here on this, there were these two spots where there were screws that had just this wood filler in there, and it was standing out like a bright, bright yellow. And, I mean, my only option would have been, like, to paint over it. And so this is where I just took, and I haven't sanded this or anything yet, but that's in there pretty good now. I just took a 3/8 inch dowel. Alright, so that, I know that was weird. I had to edit that out because I dropped the phone. So, 3/8 inch dowel, which turns out to be perfect size for this right here. And the bit I use is not necessarily the typical use for this, and this is a cheap set of bits that I use for this kind of stuff. So, not necessarily the healthiest thing in the world for this type of bit. But this type of bit does work very well. It's chewed up a little bit. But for drilling out something like that where you have screws behind it, just to get deep enough to put those in. So that worked nicely. So I think any place that you can countersink a screw, you can do something like that and works out really nice, in my opinion. I think this is looking good here overall. It's not perfect, but I like it. It actually looks better in person than it does on the video, which is funny because it almost looks gray on the video, I think, and it doesn't look gray at all in person. This stuff looks sort of a little bit more gray up along the top, but there you have sort of my stopping point because I wanted to get to this separately. Although, oh, something else I wanted to show you people, just because it's something kind of different that I did. So you look at this windowsill over here, which is a perfectly fine windowsill. I did a bunch of sanding because, again, like I said, I did not pay them to do any finishing inside of here. So all these edges were pretty much straight cut rough. I mean, not super rough or anything, but it was just straight cuts, like a board that you would pick up at the store or whatever. Like a trim board or something like that. That would just be, yeah, you can still see sort of like this edge up here, if you can see that at all. More like these kinds of edges, which I'm not going to bother with that up there, because it'd be too hard to get in there. Or, you know, sir. But anyway, so I rounded it off just sanding in this case, because it's pine. Downside and upside of pine is that it's really easy to just sand it down and whatnot. Downside being, obviously, it marks really easily, but that's part of the reason why I like doing this sort of distressed graying effect on it, because if it does look marked up, that looks a lot more natural, because this pine won't wear well. That's just pine. Compared to, like, say, if you're maple or oak. but good God, that would be very expensive to do a house like this in maple or oak or another hardwood. But so anyways, you see this. Sorry about the fast spin. And how that looks, and then you see this one and how that looks. Well, this was actually originally like that one over there, and what I did is I figured out these are not perfectly square on either side. They're not way off, but if you tried to draw a line coming from this one, you would end up out here somewhere, and same thing, line coming from this one, you end up, I mean, like there, whatever. But it'd be a little bit off. So what I did is I took a string, did it from here to here to get my line. Could just use a straight edge, but I didn't have one available right then. This was like the first day I was being a little impatient. Marked down along the string every couple inches with a pencil. Figured out my line. And then I grabbed one of my delightful little pole saws. You don't necessarily have to go with this brand or whatever. I cannot recommend this type of saw enough. I love this. The cool thing with this is what this does is you come across your cut and you come at this angle the whole way down. So you're not doing this, but it cuts on the back pull instead of on the push. So it's easier to basically, you just sort of erase the line with the saw as you go down. And it's super, super easy. I'm not a straight cut kind of person. I'm not like some sort of amazing person at any of that kind of stuff. But it's super, super easy to get a nice straight line all the way down with the saw like that. And then I just took the hand plane and I hand planed it down. And I might still go over this more with some finer grain sandpaper. I went over with like 120 grit sandpaper and just rounded this off, and just to make it a nice sort of rounded. And I mean, looking at it from a distance, I don't think you'd really guess that I did anything that dramatic to it. But it was just one of those. It wasn't a mistake on their part or anything. I think that was just sort of a way that they normally do it, and I didn't specify anything else. But I like this without, if you had that hang out here, well, my fridge is there, the door opens this way, it's kind of in the way of that. And plus it came out over top of this, which is going to be a regular use counter space, so I didn't really want that. Now, it looks like right there, I might have to bleach this. Turns out I'm gonna play with some peroxide bleaching with this now. Because I've heard that works for, actually for wood that's naturally been oxidizing. Peroxide is supposed to help remove the gray. So I'm going to try some of that just to see. So in those cases where if anybody else wants to try the Lifetime stuff, if you're accidentally getting on something, there will be a later video. We'll see how well peroxide works just to bleach that out, and if that makes a difference, or significant enough at least for government work, as the saying goes. So, end of this video. This is just some quick update stuff. I'm going to finish up the bathroom, and then I have to go pick up my laundry here shortly, and then I'll be back out here again and continue to go insane like a normal person. All right, thank you. Observations and things. So by the way, I did decide to go ahead and sand this wall here. This is in the bathroom. You see, there's just, I'm not sure even what that is, why there's all these dark marks like that all over these boards. It wasn't completely as hidden as I thought it was. So I'm going through, I'm sanding this. I can say if you are doing work on your house and you do not have power, I cannot recommend enough. This is not exactly what a mouse sander is for, but there are, of course, other 20-volt battery-operated sanders out there. I would definitely recommend, once I dug this out, the difference in what this is like doing this with a battery-operated sander versus a hand sander is just night and day. And it's not exhausting me nearly as much, obviously, but I'm getting a lot more done a lot faster. I mean, all of that would have taken me like half an hour by hand, maybe, I don't know, and it took like 5 minutes with this so far. So obviously, I mean, it gets a little more expensive because you're going to go through pads but you can always buy the cheap ones, I suppose. So anyways, it doesn't work too bad. I would definitely recommend something like this. Even, whether you go with the more expensive thing or the cheaper thing. I think this actual sander is like a $30 sander. The expensive part is the batteries, but, that's life. The batteries are always super expensive. So, anyways, definite recommendation. Have something like this if you don't have power. And if you do have power, have a sander. Huge difference. All right.